Welcome to Fantasy Chargers. Today, all we talk about is the Chargers receiving core, and we're going to talk about one more guy now with Oronde Gadsden. We're looking at the tight ends here on Fantasy Football today, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary. Let's show you the tight end rankings 1 through 12, and Oronde Gadsden will be on there. So we just got finished talking about the wide receivers, and maybe Quentin Johnson will have a good game, and hopefully Keenan Allen will do well, and obviously Ladd McConkey is going to be great, but the guy that's ruining the party is Oronde Gadsden. He's been great for your fantasy rosters because he's really helping a lot at a thin position. So here we go. He's going to be one of the starts for Heath as you see him here. Heath will just get this out of the way right now. Oronde Gadsden. It's just an easy set it and forget it at this point, or are we looking at, again, other options in the Chargers offense, plus a really good Titans defense at defending Titans. One of the rare things that they do well in 2025.
I think he lines up outside and goes downfield enough that I'm not as concerned with how good the Titans have been against defending tight ends. I also think when a tight end, we know how that position is, has 7 for 68, 7 for 164 and a touchdown, 5 for 77 and a touchdown, you just have to start him. I would start him over Sam Laporta. I'd start him over Jake Ferguson. We're going to talk about Kelce and Kincaid in a minute. I'd start him over both those guys, too.
I don't know if I can get behind starting him over Jake Ferguson because that Cowboys offense is pretty good, but this Chargers offense is pretty good, and he's a reason why I think you view him as a top 10 fantasy tight end until further notice. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, look, again, you said it best. Yeah. It's just what he's been able to do. Justin Herbert looking for him. It feels as if like the shift has happened from Johnston to Gadsden. While still keeping McConkey afloat and getting Allen his targets. So the one concern would be is if the run game is just as dominant as it can be, are we seeing a 25 pass attempt game for Herbert, and then who gets really left out or who doesn't find the end zone? So again, I think you still start Gadsden, and hopefully he delivers. All right, let's talk about Dalton Kincaid because he's a guy that for you that's tough to rank. For me, I would like to sit him this week. He's not in my top 12. We know this matchup is tough. He's coming off a down game. What do you like about Gadsden this week?
I like that he's averaging 11 points. Well, this isn't about this week. This is just overall. About 12 PPR points per game. It's 11.7, tight end 8 on a per-game basis. But a lot of that production came against Baltimore, Miami, New England, teams that play a lot of man coverage. I talked about it earlier. I expect the Chiefs to play a lot of zone coverage. He has struggled in this series against Kansas City. No games with 10 PPR fantasy points against them. One with 9.5, and then the other 2 games, including his most recent game was 3.3 PPR points. That's no bueno. I think it's easy to start Gadsden ahead of Dalton Kincaid. Good playmaker in this offense, but not somebody who typically gets a lot of looks unless it's man-to-man coverage.
Let's stick with the same game and Travis Kelce, a guy that you have a tough time ranking this week, which I'm surprised.
I do have a tough time ranking Travis Kelce because of what he did last week. If it hadn't been for what he did last week, it'd be really easy to just rank him outside of the top 12. But I think with Kelce and with Kincaid, a lot of the problem is who are you going to rank ahead of him besides Oronde Gadsden? It's not a great week for tight end streamers, in my opinion. There's not a lot of guys outside of the top 12 that I want to rank ahead of those guys. Kincaid going up against the Chiefs, who have been so fantastic against tight ends. They're giving up 7.43 fantasy points per game to the position. You know who's been better? The Bills, giving up even less production to tight ends this year. I think Kelce, what he's done well this year, he's been better after the catch than he's been in several years. He's getting into the end zone at a higher rate. He's going to need one of those 2 things because this is a bad matchup. I'd be surprised if he gets more than 6 targets.
All right, I think most people are obviously going to still start Travis Kelce. Kincaid will be an interesting one. Kyle Pitts is somebody that I think fantasy managers should be starting at this point. And you have him as a starter. I have him as a guy that I was having a hard time ranking simply because we are looking at a defense that has given up a lot of fantasy points to opposing tight ends. But what we've seen from Pitts in the last several weeks is somebody's been missing. And so you have London missing last week, Mooney coming back from the hamstring injury. The targets the last 2 games have been fantastic. Can he keep that up? So I'm still starting him. It's kind of similar to Oronde Gadsden. With what he's done the last couple of weeks, you're not getting away from it, and you feel like, at least I do, they're probably chasing points in the setup against the Patriots on the road. So I like the matchup. I like the production. I want to see if London does return. I want to see if Mooney plays. He's also on the injury report. Kyle Pitts also on the injury report as well, so I hope he's going to be okay. But just something to monitor there. But you obviously have a lot of optimism for him in this match.
I do, because I'm worried about Drake London, assuming that London gets healthy and he ends up playing. He's going to see a lot of Christian Gonzalez. We know that the Patriots are great against the run. They've struggled against tight ends. I think that's going to be an easy button for this Falcons offense to lean on, especially if it's Michael Penix under center.
Yep, and they just struggled last week. Obviously, the Patriots did. Both Harold Fannin and David Njoku went off against them. So Pitts has an opportunity here, especially if the targets still remain the same, to be very successful. I like Zach Ertz. So we'll wrap up the starts here. So you have Oronde Gadsden. You have Kyle Pitts. For me, it's Zach Ertz. 6.8 PPR points or less in 4 games this season. 3 of them came with Marcus Mariota under center. His best games have obviously come with Jaden Daniels. No surprise, 4 or 5 starts with Daniels. He's been 11.6 PPR points or more, so Daniels is going to be back. No Terry McLaurin. That's kind of been the setup for Ertz as well. And then the Seattle defense has been very bad against tight ends so far this season. 7 tight ends have scored at least 10.1 PPR points against them. 5 in the last 5 games alone. Last time we saw them play, it was Dalton Schultz going nuts. So this is a great setup for Ertz. When you were talking about some guys that you would be starting over, I kind of still view Ertz as a streamer. I know he's not his roster percentage is a little too high for that, but it feels like he's either up or down in terms of, you're starting him or you're not starting him. So I think this week is a good week to trust Zach Ertz. So the starts for us would be Oronde, Gadsden, Kyle Pitts, and Zach Ertz. The sits are somewhat interesting as well. So I kind of got through Kincaid a little bit as a guy I would like to avoid. You want to avoid Hunter Henry this week.
Still started in 44% of CBS Sports leagues. Get him out of there. This Falcons defense, 8.4 fewer half PPR points to tight ends every week this season. Jesse Bates has played a role in that. I would try and steer clear of Hunter Henry.
And for you, you're sitting TJ Hockenson.
I'm sitting TJ Hockenson. I do not think we get a high pass volume game from the Vikings. When we saw Hockenson with McCarthy earlier in the year, that was without Jordan Addison. He has done a nice job of giving you like 8, 9, or 10 fantasy points. I think it's more like 6, 7, or 8 in this game.
6, 7, or 8, that would be bad. You want to avoid TJ Hockenson. So we'll see which tight ends come through for you. We'll see which tight ends hopefully give you the production that you need, and we'll see what questions you have for us. That's next here on Fantasy Football Today. Quick break. We're going to come back with all of your Ask FFT. That's next on Fantasy Football Today. Wrapping things up here on Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM. It's all your questions. Let's get right to it. Here we go. Would you trade Wan'Dale Robinson and Quentin Johnston for Courtland Sutton or keep the depth? What would you rather have? The combination of Wan'Dale and Quentin Johnston or Courtland Sutton? For me, it's Sutton.
Yeah, me too. I love consolidating depth this time of year. This is the perfect type of trade to make that happen.
Especially when you have 8 wide receivers.
Yes. Next question. Start 1 in Week 9 PPR Guillotine League. J.K. Dobbins, Kenneth Walker, Alvin Kamara. Who would you go with?
I'd go with Walker. I think he's got the most upside of the 3.
I'd go with Dobbins.
You want to be safe, so I think it depends on what the rest of your roster looks like. Walker has the most upside by far, but
the other guys have tough matchups.
They do have tough matchups, but do you want the 8 PPR points, 9 PPR points Dobbins may give you, or the 2 that Walker can give you, or the nothing that Kamara can give you? So I like to play it safe and
nothing.
If you can. Depends on what you need. All right, next.
Alvin.
Would you trade Courtland Sutton for Brian Thomas Jr.? Everybody want to get rid of Courtland Sutton, apparently.
No, I'd rather have Sutton rest of season.
I would rather have Sutton rest of season as well.
Yep, same. Next question. Would you trade Emeka, Buka, and Sam Darnold for Jahmyr Gibbs?
Yes.
Have to.
Is this Superflex?
I don't know.
No,
it doesn't matter.
Well,
this is Jahmyr Gibbs, right? There isn't some other Gibbs that we're missing.
I
might do it for Jacob.
I would make that trade. Because in 1 QB for sure.
Yep. All right, next question. Would you trade J.K. Dobbins for DK Metcalf, half PPR?
Yes, I'd rather have Metcalf.
I think I would too.
I think I would as well. All right, last question for us here. All right, so would you rather have Denver's backfield or New England's backfield? So you get J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, or Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. Week 12 have a lot of buys, so it's from Pat.
Yeah,
always love to
what's
hear
up,
from
Pat?
So which backfield would you rather have this week and rest of season?
What is up, fellas? I'd rather have the Broncos backfield.
I'm just trying to find this doesn't rhyme at all. Is Pat
Is
Pat okay?
He posts in rhyme.
Yeah, I think I'd still rather have the Broncos backfield.
You say that's so sad.
It is sad because I'm awfully sad about.
Have you seen the Patriots backfield? That's sad.
Just 2 things real quick. One, positive for the Patriots backfield. If Ramondre's out,
right,
and we have 1 guy, like that might be better than the Broncos mess.
It's cute that you think it's going to be 1 guy.
Well, the other part is, does the Patriots add a running back, and then maybe that backfield is better. So you have to just decide based on what we have right now. So I think you just go with the Broncos backfield and maybe hope we see what R.J. Harvey did last week. Get a little bit more of that. All right, that'll do it for us here on Fantasy Football Today. Make sure you check us out Sunday morning. That's at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're going to get you covered with everything you need for your lineups for Week 9. And obviously check us out on our Fantasy Football Today podcast, wherever podcasts are found throughout the week. We help you dominate your fantasy leagues like nobody else. For Heath, for Dave, our great production staff, I'm Jamie. Thanks for watching Fantasy Football Today.